CIPD Level 5 Associate Diploma in People Management. Guide to Assignment Writing. By the end of this video, you will understand what is expected of you when writing assignments. Understand Harvard-compliant referencing. Be able to interpret command words. Know how assignments are marked and be able to understand what makes the difference between grades. Feel more confident in approaching your first assignment. Reflections. How much do you understand about the requirements around assignment writing? Have you had to write formal assignments previously? Do you have any concerns about writing academic assignments? Assignments. There are 7 assignments in total, 1 for each unit. Assignments are broken down into learning outcomes. Learning outcomes are broken down into assessment criteria, ACs. There is 1 question for each AC. Assignments typically have 10 to 12 questions. You will need to include references using the Harvard referencing standards. You will also need to evidence the required level of academic writing expected for a Level 5 qualification. If you are completing the Level 5 People Professional Apprenticeship, completion of the diploma will be required as part of your endpoint assessment. CIPD expectations. The CIPD advise that learners will be required in their assignments to demonstrate a practical, theoretical, or technological knowledge and understanding of a subject or field of work. Analysis, interpretations, and evaluations of relevant information, concepts, and ideas. Awareness of the nature and scope of the area of study or work. An understanding of different perspectives, approaches, or schools of thought and the reasoning behind them. Adapting and using appropriate methods, cognitive and practical skills to address broadly defined, complex problems. The use of relevant research or development to inform actions. Evaluation of actions, methods, and results. Marking. Assignments are given marks for each of the AC covered, and these will range from fail, low pass, pass, high pass. When writing your assignment, you will need to meet the requirements for both the assessment criteria and its related task. If any question does not achieve the minimum of a low pass mark, then your assignment will be referred. Individual marks will be combined to give an overall total rating. Marks will not be finalized until they have been through internal quality assurance and the CIPD moderation process. Word count limits are subject to a plus or minus 10% leeway, but they must be adhered to. Breaching the upper limit is an automatic referral without any marking. All answers must receive a level of pass for the overall assignment to be completed. Assignments can be referred twice. A third unsuccessful attempt will result in a fail. Breaching the lower grade will be a referral, but feedback can be provided. Technically, you can pass each answer but be referred for the breach. If an assignment is failed, then you will need to complete a different version of the assignment using a new brief. The ACs will be the same, but the questions may be different. However, you cannot use any of your original content and have to rewrite from scratch. Using any material from your previous submission would count as plagiarism and result in an immediate referral. We will cover plagiarism in more detail shortly. Let's look at what makes the different gradings. Pause the video if you want to spend longer reviewing these. How to approach assignments. Assignments will be due within 2 weeks of completing each unit. The program is structured on the assumption that you will complete the relevant part of the assignment once the assessment criteria have been covered through learning. You must complete the answers using the assignment brief document. You must make sure that all sections are complete. You must include a full reference list at the end of your answers. You must declare your word count. Leave the presentation and bring up any of the assignment briefs. Show. Please note that each assignment brief has an expiry date. You shouldn't use this version after this date. The second page where center name, number, learner number, start and end date and word count must be completed. You should add a page break after the assessment criteria and enter your response there. Use the evidence checklist for each assignment. You must complete the declaration of authenticity. This must be signed. You cannot type your name as a signature. The marking and feedback pages. You shouldn't remove any of the text from the unit brief when you enter your own information. In the event of referrals, the resubmission is done on the original brief with the first answer crossed out and the new one written in a different color font. This is so the CIPD moderator can see every version of the answer that has been submitted and compare it against the marks and feedback we have given. This allows the moderators to assess the marker rather than the student. CIPD word count guidelines. Every assignment has a set word count. If the assignment is split into different tasks, each task has a guideline word count. You must be within the word count plus or minus 10%. If you are outside of the word count, your assignment will be referred and returned unmarked. Appendices, title pages, and question identifiers are not included in the word count. However, appendices should only be used when the task specifically calls for them. Question identifiers. CIPD's current guidelines are for you to state the full question and then answer it. If the assignment format is pure question and answer, the question title is not included in the word count. Where the assignment format asks you to write a report, you must use headings as question identifiers instead, and these are included in the word count. We will cover this when we come to specific assignments. A word-on-word count. Every AC is worth the same amount of marks, so every question is equally important. As weighting is equal, it is worth making your word count approximately equal between every question. Short answers are likely to lack detail and run the risk of being referred. It can be helpful to divide the maximum word count between the number of answers and use this as a guideline word count per answer. Make good use of the word count you have. Incorrect referencing can waste word count. Make good use of diagrams to preserve word count. The equal split of word count is not a hard and fast rule. Sometimes the questions with more detail or a higher level command word require a little more word count, so this is a guideline but not something to follow as an absolute. We will cover how to reference correctly shortly. Using diagrams. When you use a model in your answers, it is good practice to insert a diagram. This should be inserted at the point you are discussing the diagram, not at the end of the answer, and not as an appendix. Diagrams should be labeled, e.g. Figure 1, etc., and you must include the reference source in the same way you would if you use material from any other source. More on this in the referencing section. Diagrams and visuals cannot be used for text, which is part of the argument. Tables with text will be counted in the word count, only those with figures are excluded. Diagram or text. If we wanted to use steeple analysis in your answer, you could do it like this. It has used up a lot of words though. 115 words in fact. Or you could do it like this. You now have 112 extra words to use on your answer, and you have made your answer more visually interesting. Academic writing. The CIPD describe academic writing as unlike any other style of writing. It needs to be more formal and will include citations to other texts, research, and ideas to support your arguments. You will be expected to show a level of critical thinking and avoid being purely descriptive. Statements will need to be supported by relevant evidence, comparisons, and justification where applicable. See their guide on the CIPD website for more information and guidance. Writing style. You should write in the third party and avoid I, me, and other first-person terminology, unless the question specifically asks you about yourself. Be formal and impersonal. Avoid shortened forms, jargon, and clichés. Do not make definitive statements unless you can support this with evidence. Avoid using emotive language, for example. It is staggering to see. Interpreting the question. Make sure you are clear on what you are being asked to do. You will often be asked to analyze, discuss, evaluate, recommend, etc. All of the questions in your assignments will contain what is known as a command word. Examples of these and what they mean are listed here. You must do what the command word is asking you to. If you don't, you will almost certainly be referred. Interpreting the question. Sometimes you may see command words which do not match to the CIPD list. Check these against Bloom's taxonomy to understand what is expected. We will be looking at some example question and answers later in the video, and we will examine the command word in more detail at that stage. Common reasons for referral. Over/under word count. Failure to fully answer the question. Failure to sufficiently address the assessment criteria. Non-compliant referencing. Failure to accurately cite external sources, plagiarism. Lack of original analysis. Poor missing justifications or explanations. We have covered the first three reasons to an extent. We will work our way through the others now. Reflection. What do you know about Harvard referencing? Why is it used and what is the format for it? Pause the video and have a think. Referencing. Referencing is the process of acknowledging other people's work when you have used it in your assignment or research. It allows the reader to locate your source material as quickly and easily as possible so that they can read these sources themselves and verify the validity of your arguments. Referencing provides the link between what you write and the evidence on which it is based. Pears and Shields, 2019. It is standard practice in academic writing to include references to academic sources. You are expected to reference every time you use someone else's words or ideas in your own work. You should use references to add credibility and evidence to your assignments. Referencing. There are two places in which you must reference. Citation in the text. This is the brief indication of the source within the text of your work immediately following the use of the source, whether quoted or summarized. Reference list. A complete list of all the cited references used in your work with full bibliographic details, to allow the reader to follow up these references and find the original text. In-text referencing guides. The Harvard referencing system has different formats depending on the type of source you are citing from. The Anglia Ruskin Online Guide to Referencing is based on Harvard standards and provides excellent insights into how to apply in-text referencing correctly. All citations must be supported by a reference list at the end of each assignment, ordered alphabetically by author. You can find links to these below. In-text referencing examples. In the Harvard system, you should state the author's surname, followed by the year of publication. For a single author, it might appear as follows. It has been emphasized by Shah, 2015, that good referencing is an important academic skill. If there are two authors, Shah and Papadopoulos, 2015, emphasized that good referencing is an important academic skill. If there are more than two authors, Shah et al., 2015, emphasized that good referencing is an important academic skill. If there is no publication date, then ND or no date should be used to denote this. If you cannot find the author, then you can reference the publisher as a last resort, e.g. CIPD, ND, have emphasized the importance of referencing as an academic skill. Referencing examples. The Harvard Business Review article on steeple analysis, through 2020, explains how it identifies 7 specific factors that can influence a product, brand, business, or location. Could read. Steeple analysis identifies 7 specific factors that can influence a product, brand, business, or location, through 2020. Or through 2020 explains that steeple analysis identifies 7 specific factors that can influence a product, brand, business, or location. You do not need to use phrases like, in an article or in a report. You only use brackets when something is additional to the text. Referencing shouldn't stop sentences flowing like any normal sentence would. Summarize, quote, or paraphrase. Your citation should be a mix of the following. Quoting, where you are using an exact copy of the author's words within your text. Paraphrasing. This would typically be the same length as the source material, but using synonyms rather than the exact wording of the original. Summarizing. Where you are condensing themes noted in a much larger section of text into a much smaller section. Neither summaries nor paraphrasing should use exact wording from within the source material. You can find this link in the list below. Whilst it is acceptable to quote, you should only do this on rare occasions where it is the best way to support your answers. Regurgitating the thoughts of others does not show understanding, so it is essential to make it clear what you think. Summarize, quote, or paraphrase. If you are doing any of these things, then you must state your source. If you are using a direct quotation, then you must put it in speech marks. If this is not done, then it can be treated as plagiarism and will automatically result in a referral. For example, Downs, 2012, page 6, studied the development of selective attention skills in preschool children with sickle cell disease. Quotes should be used sparingly and should not simply be dropped into your paper without being integrated in some way within your narrative. The CIPD viewpoint on plagiarism. At a high level, for any written material submitted, the CIPD, 2021, defines plagiarism as work which is not the candidate's own. Work which has been copied from something a candidate has previously submitted. Work which has directly quoted content from published works without including it in quotation marks. A link to the CIPD plagiarism policy can be found below. City Skills Plagiarism Policy. Our full policy can be downloaded using the link below. Please note that the use of artificial intelligence to create unit evidence and answers is covered under this policy. CIPD guidelines are that they will not accept any use of AI in assignment submissions, so do not use these tools under any circumstances when creating your assignment. Reference list. A full list of all your referenced sources must be included in your assignment. This goes after your final answer and before any appendices. The list is of all sources in all of your answers and is presented in alphabetical order. Assessors should be able to cross-reference any in-text sources against the reference list. The way you reference here varies depending on what the source material is, i.e. the format required will change depending on whether you are referencing a book, a journal, an article, a website, etc. For sources researched but not directly cited within your paper, you should include these in a bibliography. You can find examples of referencing here. More details are included below. Microsoft Word inbuilt referencing. You can either manage your citations and references manually or you can use the inbuilt referencing tools within MS Word. MS Word allows you to select the Harvard referencing method and choose the type of publication you are referencing and will present the relevant fields for you to complete. You can then use it to enter your citations and, once you are finished, produce your reference list, already ordered alphabetically, at the click of a button. Formatting using Microsoft Word. Format headings and subheadings using the Styles menu under Home. You can then insert a table of contents which will populate automatically. Any changes you then make can be reflected in an updated TOC by clicking on Update Table. Reflection. If you have already completed an assignment brief, take a look at each of the questions and answers in turn, reflect after each one. Pause this video as needed. Consider the same things again. Has the question been answered? Has the command word been followed? Is the referencing Harvard compliant? Is the referencing sufficient? Would you award this answer a high pass, pass, low pass, or refer? Why is that? Pre-submission checklist. Check you are within word count and have noted it on your paper. Do a final proofread to check for any errors. Make sure you have answered all of the questions in full. Make sure your assignment is spaced at 1.5 lines and is well structured with headings and a contents page. You may wish to use the inbuilt MS Word style tools to do this. Complete the relevant information and declarations, including the evidence checklist. Check your references are Harvard compliant and that your reference list is in alphabetical order, by author. Referrals. Every question will receive a mark, high pass, 4, pass, 3, low pass, 2, or refer, 1. To complete the assignment, every answer must receive at least a low pass. Any answers which are referred must be resubmitted. We allow a week for resubmissions. You must only rewrite answers which have been referred, past answers must not be changed. Rewritten answers must be done on the original paper. Cross out the original answer using the strike-through function and write the new version under it in a different color font. This is a CIPD requirement. You must redeclare your word count before resubmitting. You are allowed a maximum of 3 attempts on each paper. After this, the paper would be failed and you would need to start again using a new unit brief. The ACs would be the same, but the overall brief and the questions will be different. You are not allowed to use content from your original paper as this would constitute plagiarism. Recap. You should now understand what is expected of you when writing assignments. Understand Harvard-compliant referencing. Be able to interpret command words. Know how assignments are marked and be able to understand what makes the difference between grades. Feel more confident in approaching your first assignment.